it will slow down your metabolism, I imagine, if you're not eating this whole time you're on it. And then, of course, if you get off of it and then your metabolism's like sluggishly slow or not there, right? So that's
Yeah.
I feel like a big part of it.
Absolutely. That is definitely a big part of why someone might regain the weight getting off the medication. And I say that to my clients too all the time. You have to be able to eat. We want to make sure that you're eating adequate portion sizes because it will impact your metabolism for two reasons. A, if you're not eating enough food and you're not eating adequate protein, your body's going to go after that muscle mass before it goes after the fat. And that, kind of goes to the segue of another misconception is that all the weight that you lose is muscle mass. And again, that can be true if you're not eating. And if you're not eating enough protein, you're not eating enough food fuel.
Hi, Youthful family. Today, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about weight loss. We're going to go over some topics and discuss things like breakthrough treatments and to help people regain their weight journey and regain their life back. Joining me today is our esteemed colleague and weight loss expert, Kelly Bergdorf, who is well-versed in semaglutide and weight loss. Together, we're going to navigate through some of these things like the fundamentals, the misconceptions, the data, and health advantages associated with the semaglutide. So, Kelly, tell me a little bit about your weight loss journey and how you became an expert in semaglutide.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kelly. I got into this field of weight loss and wellness and helping people with their weight loss journeys because I myself have gone through weight loss. And while I didn't use one of the medications, this started for me about 5-6 years ago. I have made quite the transition, just, working hard. And I know and understand how difficult it is to lose weight. I'm going to share my screen just to show myself. I myself have lost about 70 pounds over the last several years. So right there in the middle, that's my before and afters. So that was 2019. And then was the other picture next to it was taken earlier this year, focused on my diet and exercise. And since then I've regained not just like my self-confidence and, achieved a certain body physique, but I have gained so much life in the process. I've tried things that I never thought that I would, partaken in physical activities. I'm able to be more active with my kids, which was one of the big motivators here, as well as health. I wanted to make sure that I was taking care of myself. I am genetically predisposed to high cholesterol. So weight, can exacerbate those issues. And this whole journey, everything that I have personally experienced has led me to want to help other people. And in that, with the revolutionary medication of semaglutide being really introduced to the market and being made popular, I have seen with my clients over the last 2.5 years that we've been working with just what a wonderful tool it can be for helping people to lose weight, do so successfully, and with the right intervention and coaching, be able to do so sustainably, which, is my end goal. And I know that's yours as well.
Absolutely. And, we want to educate people on, yes, this is an amazing, amazing peptide. And it really is powerful. I've struggled with weight loss my whole life as well, not to get too much into it, but I've always been a biohacker. I've always really watched what I've eaten, worked out, lived a healthy lifestyle with a few other things in there. But it never, I started on semaglutide about 6 months ago. And it was the thing that I was looking for most of my life. And, but I'm not on it anymore, but I'm maintaining healthy lifestyle, which, that's the key, I think, into a lot of this. This stuff is very powerful. It's amazing. Some people may be on it, and you might be able to answer that. Often on it, maybe the rest of their life, but it's putting in also the other healthy work that really helps to maintain overall health and well-being. I don't know if we talked about like the issue of being, or it seems like the older we get, weight does become more and more harder to maintain or keep off. So that's another thing with, I know my age and seems like the age group, I'm in my 40s. It definitely is an uphill battle. You have things changing in your your body hormonally, and that can literally pack on the pounds overnight, it seems like. So again, also this was something that came into my life in a very, very perfect timing because I was starting to even gain more weight, hitting those premenopausal years and things of that nature. So maybe we can talk on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something that I hear quite a bit from most of my clients is that as they age, they feel like they've put on a lot of weight, or it is so much, more difficult to lose the weight from, say, when they were in their 20s, right? And there are different factors that contribute to this. First and foremost, as we age and grow into adulthood, typically are a lot more sedentary. We're working, we're
on the computer.
on the computer, especially now all the time. Most people aren't on their feet as much as, say, you were walking around a college campus and working a serving job, going to the gym and doing all of those things. So that lack of daily movement has a larger impact than most people truly understand. And, eating habits can certainly shift and change over time, depending on different circumstances. Sometimes when you have kids, I know that I have definitely fallen victim to just going through the drive-through or putting something easy together, that macaroni and cheese, or just sneaking into the pantry and eating their snacks.
Yes. Yeah,
so
in the house now.
Like that.
Yeah. Captain Crunch and macaroni and cheese is now in the house. So yeah.
I think every time I pour a bowl of like goldfish, I definitely take a handful every time.
I'm gluten intolerant now, and that's one of the things I miss the most is goldfish.
Oh, good. But what we don't account for is that those licks, sips, tastes, all of those things, they do account to added calories. So that can play a factor. And then it is true, your hormones can absolutely have a contributing factor to struggling to lose weight or influencing weight gain. They do this through means of a more secondary symptom. But when you are going through the aging process, and particularly if you're a female going through the menopausal process, your hormones are shifting and they're all out of balance. You're experiencing all of these less than exciting, fun side effects, such as, your hot flashes, night sweats, poor sleep quality, fatigue, mental fogginess, all of these other symptoms that you're experiencing because of your hormones being imbalanced is going to create other systemic effects. You probably are going to eat a little bit worse because you feel bad or you're tired, and, food has a positive feedback loop in your brain, and it's going to raise, when your hormones are imbalanced, it'll raise cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. When we're stressed, we typically eat a little bit more. When you're fatigued, you are moving even less. So it's just all of these things can come together for this big, tornado
of perfect
of struggling with weight.
Yes.
And it can be a lot to overcome, but we are lucky to have this scientific advancement of these medications and technologies to be able to help.
And let's get into that, actually. How does semaglutide actually work? So what's the physiological process of it? You want to get into that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Semaglutide is really cool, the way that it works. So it is a, peptide. Basically what it is a glucagon-like peptide 1. That's the fancy terminology for it. Basically, what it is a GLP-1 agonist. So when you inject it into your body, so it's an injection, it releases a hormone that triggers your body to slow down the digestion of food food and to decrease that insulin resistance. And this process is going to make you feel fuller faster, fuller for longer periods of time. And the GLP-1, it even causes a little bit of mild gut distension. So you literally feel full. You are full. You're getting full. So that effect of the semaglutide, helps to decrease and manage portion sizes because you can't eat as much as you were. And it's going to decrease snacking throughout the day because you just don't get hungry. You're not as interested in food. But I will say that what my favorite part of how the semaglutide works is that it also shoots a signal up to your brain, up to the hypothalamus, and triggers these receptors that interact with that dopamine response with food. So in other words, you don't have that same pleasure response. It kind of disrupts that cycle. It quiets that food noise. So people don't struggle with cravings
that's interesting. We don't have to get into that right now, but I feel like that right there, just that dopamine hit for a lot of other, like you hear that stuff, with ADHD and different types of neurodiversity situations, and also emotional situations like trauma and stuff, like just hitting that dopamine even or quieting that is huge, which is a whole nother effect situation where it's like that's another positive of it. And I don't know if we want to get into that right now, and we probably shouldn't, but we'll stick to more of the weight loss thing of it. But it is, it's more of just it can be more just a weight loss situation. Like there can be other things that I'm like, when you talk about hitting those things, certain points in the brain, that's incredible to me. And I feel like that can help other situations in your life. Like I said, the neurodiversity or neurodivergency, like that people have sometimes with the ADHD and things of that nature. And also just, again, trauma triggers. Trauma and weight gain and eating are very closely related.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's,
comforting. Food is comforting. Food is, makes you feel better. So if you get triggered by something, you want to eat, or if you're not getting triggered as much because that's getting quieted, that would be that's a whole nother realm of how a positive thing for the semaglutide.
That's my favorite part about it. That's where I see my clients receive the most success, is through the interaction in the brain. And the way that I can best describe it is just you have more control over your not only physical food environment, but your mental food environment. And I think that anyone who has ever been on a diet or tries to go on a diet, that is the hardest part to overcome, is the mental part of dieting. But when you don't have that food noise, when you don't have that desire, need, and pull from that dopamine to eat certain
things. Very liberating. Yeah, it's
eat
very liberating.
It is. You can make the right choices. Yeah. And with the way that, we all do our programs, this mental freedom from food allows you the space in the room to focus on developing those healthy habits that are going to lead to sustainable fat loss. So that, in my opinion, is why this medication is so great, so revolutionary, because it opens up a lot of doors for a lot of people.
And more than just, like I said, just shedding the pounds, there's so many other things that are happening, mentally and emotionally. So it's incredible. So let's talk about, and if you're ready to, if there's anything else in that topic, but I'd like to talk about the misconceptions. There's a ton of them out there. You can Google them for days. So let's talk about the misconceptions that you're hearing and kind of maybe debunk some of them and give that information out.
Absolutely. Definitely lots of misconceptions and, bad press. You're going to see that with anything that is popular or controversial or existing, period, because people are going to argue over everything. But some of the big ones are that you're going to regain all of the weight when you get off of the semaglutide. That's probably one of the biggest concerns. And that can be true, but it does not have to be true. And that's going to be based on the individual and their personal actions. You could say that someone is going to regain all the weight after being on semaglutide. You can say the same thing about any sort of dietary approach that is not long-term sustainable. You could say the same thing about keto. Someone goes on a keto diet, loses all this weight, and then they get off said keto diet. They're likely to regain it if they're not able to control their regular eating habits and kind of re-enter the normal world. So semaglutide's the same way. If you are focusing on creating a relationship with food, learning how to eat, understanding portion sizes, macros, and just really taking notice of how you are eating nutritionally and portion size while on the medication, as well as beginning to incorporate some regular physical activity, there's no reason that you cannot sustain your fat loss coming off the medication. So,
thing that I have said, and I've not been, doing this as long as you have, but one thing I've said to our clients at Youth Fuel taking it, and they've told me these stories about, oh, I had a friend who did, and she gained all the way back and then some. My first question is, and this you can chime in on this, is were they eating? Were they actually eating? Because you're not going to be hungry. That's wonderful. You're not going to be hungry, but if you're not eating and not actually forcing yourself to even eat salads or some good food, once you do get off of this, it's going to trash your metabolism, right? Is that something you're finding? Like if you're not keeping that metabolism still kind of going, even though you're not hungry and you're losing the weight, but making good choices that are good foods that aren't going to pack pounds on you, like a bunch of carbs and junky foods, but it will slow down your metabolism. I imagine if you're not eating this whole time you're on it. And then of course, if you get off of it and then your metabolism is like sluggishly slow or not there. Right. So that's I feel like a big part of it.
Absolutely. That is definitely a big part of why someone might regain the weight getting off the medication. And I say that to my clients too all the time. You have to be able to eat. We want to make sure that you're eating adequate portion sizes because it will impact your metabolism for two reasons. If you're not eating enough food and you're not eating adequate protein, your body's going to go after that muscle mass before it goes after the fat. And that, kind of goes to the segue of another misconception is that all the weight that you lose is muscle mass. And again, that can be true if you're not eating. And if you're not eating enough protein, you're not eating enough food fuel. And to that end, if you're not eating enough, you're losing a lot of muscle mass, your body will begin to suppress your metabolism. It does not need the level of energy expenditure to function. Muscle mass is much more energy intensive than fat mass. So it takes more calories to maintain your body when you have more muscle mass. If you're losing all of that, you're not eating, your metabolism is going to shrink. And then you get off the medication. And while your metabolism, your ability to burn calories as energy isn't up here, that doesn't mean that your appetite is not going to be up here, So you begin eating and your metabolism can't keep up because it's only burning what it thinks that it needs, despite you having the appetite and the desire to eat a whole lot more. So that is another reason that people may regain the weight after being on the medication. I can't stress enough to all of my clients, I don't ever want it to get to the point where you are struggling to eat. If you are, we're at a dose that's too high. And that is something that you will see some practitioners do is just prescribe the medication, work their patients all the way up to the higher doses and, allow for super fast, extreme fat loss. And
is not good. This stuff will work, but in anything, we have to tell, fast is not always good. It's not safe. It's not, the stuff will come off faster than any diet I've ever done or any keto, all of it. But it's not faster than that is not healthy for 100%. So let's talk about any of the side effects with that we've seen, which a lot of them are listed, you can Google them, but let's talk about some of those things.
Honestly, side effects for this medication are very minimal. And while I transition into that, another misconception that was popular for a long time is that it will, if you're on this medication for too long, it will shut down your body's ability to break down food and negatively impact your digestive system. Again, that just all goes back to eating. If you are not eating for such a severely long period of time because you're on this medication, your body's not using the digestive processes the way that it was, you will experience digestive issues, but it's not due to the medication. It's due to how much you're eating. And these are things that the individual can have control over.
User error. It's due to user error.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But other side effects on the medication are, like I said, they're very minimal. The most common side effect is short term, and that's that mild nausea. I think everybody knows that. I know you guys do as well. Make sure to provide everyone with that B12 complex. B12 helps with those energy levels. B6 helps with neutralizing that nausea. So that if the individual is going to experience nausea, hopefully it's just very mild, doesn't last long.
It's tolerable. Typically it's very, very tolerable.
Very tolerable, and usually gone after the third or fourth injection altogether.
Right.
Other side effects, you may get a headache at the beginning a little bit. That can be one that's not as common as the nausea. Maybe some constipation at higher doses because of that slowed digestion, maybe some acid reflux. But usually I only see that if someone is already predisposed to acid reflux. And the thing is that none of these side effects are anything that can't be managed through natural remedies.
Right.
If I have someone that's having some constipation, take some more fiber, take some supplements.
Magnesium, right.
Yeah, that typically helps. Or maybe we lower the dose just a tiny little bit. Acid reflux, stay away from your oily foods, your fried foods, your acidic foods and drinks. All of these things are very easily managed. But other than that, there's not any real proven long-term side effects that aren't that user error. It's very safe. It does not negatively interact with other medications.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about it. It doesn't, and full disclosure, I'm a type 1 diabetic. So, people get that mixed up with the type 2s where I have no choice. I have an autoimmune disease. My body does not produce any insulin at all. Because a lot of people talk about this medication. Oh, that's for diabetics. That's for diabetics. And it's like, well, I feel like it'd be more for a type 2 diabetic. And I don't know if you've seen this in your practice. Has anyone been able to get off of their type 2 medications by using semaglutide in the weight loss? Yeah, I feel like that's very powerful. Yeah. And it's very powerful, but also with someone like me that I don't have the choice. I have to take my insulin since I was 4 years old. Which at 4 years old, you don't typically have a weight problem and you're not going to get type 2 diabetes from lifestyle. But so anyway, I can take this and it actually helps my insulin, even though it's synthetic, which insulin's also a peptide. So it actually helps me use it better. My body actually digests or metabolizes it better or methylates it better. I guess that's another word too, right? So, which is so nice because I get that question too. Well, can a type 2 diabetic take it? What are the interactions, any interactions with other medications? And we don't typically see any other things. I mean, yeah. So let's talk about the possible contraindications where there's 3 big ones that we always ask before people are able to get on it or, our nurse practitioners prescribe it. And let's talk about that. So want to go ahead with those 3?
It is. It's just the 3. And in most cases, very rare. The first one is if you have a history or family history of thyroid cancer, not to be confused with hypothyroidism.
But you can be on medication. Yes. You can actually be on a thyroid medication and still take the semaglutide, to be clear.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So most people don't have that issue. Even at that was only an issue seen in rat studies, but better safe than sorry.
Right.
If you have a personal history of gallstones or gallbladder disease, that can be an issue. If you've had your gallbladder removed, then you don't have to worry about that. I hear that a lot. People.
Yeah, that was a good question. If your gallbladder has been removed, then you can take the semaglutide because it's not a problem anymore.
Right. Exactly. You're not a problem. That qualifies that. And then a history of pancreatitis, then the medication may not be the right fit. That's something that you would need to talk more in depth with a medical provider.
Which is, to dumb it down, is swelling of the pancreas. I get that question asked too. Well, what is pancreatitis exactly? So yeah, it's just swelling of the pancreas. And you would definitely know if you had that. Someone would know that. So, all right. Any other misconceptions that we should talk about?
I feel like those are a lot of the big ones as far as, semaglutide. I mean, of course, there's, once you get on it, you'll have to be on it for the rest of your life. Again, this just kind of loops back to the same things that we talked about earlier, where it is completely within the user's control whether or not they're going to have to be on it, how successful they can be on it, whether or not they can get off of it and not struggle. That's just going to come down to lifestyle and habits. Other than that, there's not a whole lot that I can think of that are directly related to the medication and how it functions.
All right. Well, let's go on to the next question that I have for you. What are some of the struggles that people might experience with weight loss and semaglutide? I mean, we kind of covered some of those already, but we'll just go over it again with like, this is the actual question here. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like particular weight loss struggles, I would say that what I see most of the time is it's all food and nutrition. Unfortunately, that's what it comes down to. Physical activity, as important as it is, like actual intentional physical activity, going to the gym or taking a class, that only accounts for about 10% of your overall energy expenditure. Moving around more throughout the day is important, but most of it is going to come down to understanding food, which most people don't. Americans, what is the statistic? I want to say Americans underestimate portion sizes by upwards of like 60%, or like 60% of Americans, something insane. Like we just have no idea about.
Well, our plates are this big. Yeah. The average plate size is like huge. Yeah.
I know. So I tell people all the time, like you go to a Chinese restaurant, you're going to get 3 servings of rice, not 1.
Oh, absolutely.
So these are things that, we just don't associate, and a lot of people don't
And
understand.
let's talk about that at a restaurant. That's another big misconception. Like people are like, I got a salad at a restaurant, or I just did have rice and chicken at a restaurant. That's a big misconception because we also don't know how they're cooking these things and adding extra oils and butters and things of that nature that can really add the caloric intake and carbs. Again, salads. People are like, oh, I got a salad. Well, what did it have? Dried cherries and bacon, and bacon's not the problem on its own.
But it's
clear. Bacon is not a problem. So, but again, when you add all these things together and then you add a very fat, sugary dressing, all of that, or a bunch of crunchy things that are fried, again, it makes this salad taste so good because a lot of times people have adverse taste to just greens by themselves. So they want to cover these things up, right? With all the glitter.
All the good tasting stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, which puts the pounds on you. I mean, it really does. And again, at restaurants, there's so many things that go on behind the scenes that they're cooking with and doing that you don't even think about. Those are adding a lot to your calories and carbs. So
it's true. There's so many unaccounted for calories. And I have this conversation, I feel like all day long, is all the unaccounted for calories because we just don't register them. They don't contribute to our satiety or feeling full. So we just don't think about them. And, I have the conversation all the time as well. Just because something is nutritionally healthy, does not mean that does not equal low calorie. I saw something the other day that was comparing a smoothie, like from Smoothie King or something like that, standard medium, to like a fast food meal, burger and fries or whatever. Yeah. Like smoothie, 700 calories because it's got all of that fruit and whatever else they put in there, whatever it's made with. And it's all just so condensed that there's more of those things in there. Yeah. And so does this fast food meal. It just, it just kind of depends. And
that's another marketing. Marketing is such a big problem in this country about how things are marketed as healthy choice. Like, oh, it's a smoothie. And we've already have this conception in our mind that, oh, a smoothie is healthy because it has fruits in it and maybe a couple versions of a vegetable were there at one time, but they've been processed so many times. So again, it's like looking at a package saying, oh, this is healthier, thinking that this is a healthier choice than a Big Mac. It really comes down to, you really got to look at what is, because not all calories are created equal either.
No. And that's the big thing, is that they're not all equal. And I think that one of the things that people really, really struggle with is healthy, nutrient healthy, like a smoothie. You can't deny that it's going to have more vitamins and nutrients and things like that than a Big Mac, but that does not equal low calorie. People assume healthy is low calorie. My favorite example is, avocado. healthy fat, great for you, lots of stuff that you need. An avocado, one little avocado is like anywhere from 350 to 400 calories, and you can eat an avocado without feeling full at all. Just understanding food, understanding what you're eating, understanding portion sizes, and learning the art of moderation, flexible dieting. That is what I think people really, really struggle with, because they just don't understand food and they think that they have to eliminate everything that they label as bad, restrictive diets. And that also leads to a path of failure, because if you're telling yourself that you can't have anything that you enjoy because it's unhealthy, if you do break at some point down the line, you'll either just completely shut down and quit, or a lot of people get into binge eating habits because of this restriction of foods. So I think that that's where dieting is very difficult for people, and weight loss is just being able to understand food and not looking at it as a, I can't have this, I can only have this. This is the better option because society says it's healthy. Understand the balance.
Those things and and understand the difference. Yeah, what the difference is. Let's talk about any kind of like stats that you have on the health benefits of with the semaglutide and losing the weight, and what are those stats? Because I know there's some really good positive stats around like heart health and things like that. So if you have any of those stats to share, or what are the big benefits of even adding semaglutide into your overall health journey, let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but from my personal experience, I will say that a majority of the clients that I work with semaglutide who lose the weight come off of those type 2 diabetic medications like we talked to, come off of the metformin, cholesterol medications. So many of my clients will be able to come off of cholesterol medications because their cholesterol is managed due to a healthy weight, and blood pressure meds. A lot of people, that is often, I'd say, the first to go is the blood pressure medications. Weight just has such a profound impact on the way that our body functions. Being obese and overweight, it has been proven, we know now, that it contributes to every major chronic disease and illness, ailment, period, and that it is the number 2 leading cause of preventable death within the United States, behind nicotine use, tobacco use, because it just weighs on your body.
It weighs you down. Yeah, it literally constricts your blood vessels. That's where the blood pressure stuff comes in. I mean, you have all that fat hanging out around your blood vessels, and it's just constricting them so much. And just your body, every organ in your body just has to work harder when you have that weight on. You just going up to go to the bathroom is so much harder. It takes so much more energy. So big deal. Also, I'm sure you've read this, and I know this is a fact, not think. Fat or cancer cells hang out in fat. So the more fat you have on your body, the more cancer cells you have going on in your body, and the more that you're probably going to end up developing some sort of cancer.
True. It'll be really interesting to see what the research and the science shows down the road, because we do have a better understanding to show that, weight, fat cells, they are a safe harbor for cancer cells.
It's a big deal.
Being in a healthy weight management improves overall longevity and quality of life. That's just things that we understand through scientific research and solid data, that if you're at a weight that is healthy for your body, you are going to be able to live a healthier, longer life.
All of it. And you can Google even stuff with, I know there's a ton of stats out there about your heart, like how the function of your heart becomes better with losing the weight and being on these GLP-1s to stay off of them and help everything be healthy. So I feel like almost every organ in your body is affected positively by getting the weight off. And it's and even your brain.
Yes.
Again, we talked about that earlier with just like the emotional part and the turning off some of those dopamine hits that you need, especially if you've had trauma and things of that nature. So while semaglutide is a powerful tool, obviously, to help us lose weight, let's talk about how lifestyle, nutrition, exercise, all those things are still extremely important, which we kind of touched on earlier. But I kind of want to go down a whole like list. Let's talk about it. So first of all, I want to talk about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be in the right mindset to do this, and you got to change your lifestyle.
You absolutely do. You have to go into it, and this is going to apply to any diet, with the idea that you are making changes. Now, you don't have to take all of the changes on at once. You don't have to completely transform your identity overnight. I think that that's something that people struggle with when it comes to weight loss as well, with mindset, is expectations. You need to have appropriate expectations for what your weight loss is going to look like. A healthy rate of fat loss without the medication is typically anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds a month. That is healthy and to be expected weight loss.
One of my things was expectations. Yep. So there you go.
Expectations, we got to manage those. And then, with mindset, one of the things that we try to tell people all the time is that if you want to lose weight and you want to do so successfully, you have to make the person that you want to become, the person that you idealize as this healthier, weight managed person. That's your identity. That's who you are. What would this person do? And just taking it one step at a time, and then being patient with yourself, because that's something else that people really struggle with is mindset, is they have this all-in-one mentality. And if I mess up, well, that's it. I blew it.
Right. One bad day is not going to screw up.
No, one bad day is not going to screw up the entire.
And allow yourself to have that one bad day, so you don't just say, oh, I just give up because I had that bad day and now I'm just going to eat whatever I want because I've already screwed up. I mean,
right.
I'm sure you've heard that a lot with your clients, with your patients. Yes. And I think it's a big
the next morning.
Deal. Yeah.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just get up the next morning and you go, that was fun.
Yep.
We're going to keep going now.
Right, exactly. I had my fun. I'm sure we've all been there in a little bit of a hangover morning.
Oh yeah. I mean,
there can be food hangovers too. So
I've got a sweet tooth. I like my cake, and rarely do I say no to it.
Yeah. But you also probably fill in the gaps with the other things, or take out something that might be, just to kind of, there's ways to.
Absolutely. It's give and take.
Yeah, it's give and take. So let's talk about, it's perfect. Let's go into the nutrition, the long style. We kind of touched on that. So nutrition's my next one of like the overall lifestyle changes and long-term, maintenance of being on semaglutide.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and this is very general, but the easiest approach I like to recommend is the 80-20 rule. You aim for perfection, or you aim to be on point with getting in your micronutrients and hitting whatever macronutrient goals you have, and eating clean, whole foods. Aim for 80% of that, 80% within your day, 80% of your week. Aim to be 80% on board with those parameters. And then you have to leave room for the good stuff. You just have to. We're human. We're not perfect. And you don't need to deprive yourself and punish yourself. So you have about 20% room to enjoy the good stuff. So
80% of the healthy choices and the good stuff, and then 20% for pure enjoyment.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, you're going to make mistakes, where you're just, you last minute decide that you're going to go out to eat with a friend or go grab something that you didn't account for. It's okay. So 20% of the good stuff, and then nutrition. Again, I can't say it enough. Understanding what portion sizes look like, understanding the calories associated with certain foods and macronutrients. The best way that I like to encourage people to learn to do this, as tedious and frustrating as it can be, weighing food, just so that you can get an idea. You don't have to do it long, but
because you'll get an idea. My mom weighed my food when I was a child, when I first became diabetic, because she had to go through classes, and she literally changed the diet of all of us in our house. But I remember, had a little scale, like a food scale. And I started figuring out what a portion looks like and how much it weighs and what is, and like you said, once you start doing it, you'll kind of get an idea of what it is and what something looks like. So it's like, it really is educating yourself on those things. Carbs are the same thing. I can kind of look at something because I live my life on a carb scale because of my insulin pump. And I have to tell myself how much insulin I have to know how much insulin to get myself based on the carbs. But I've gotten so good over time reading even labels of boxes or knowing what a fruit even has in it as far as the carbs. So it's like once you start to really educate yourself and dive into this, again, it's all a lifestyle. It's a whole lifestyle change. That's part of the lifestyle change is getting to know those things and being good at even starting to like eyeball, like when you go out to eat for, a portion size of rice, how many carbs that's going to have for you. So you can you're not going to give yourself insulin like I have to, but it kind of gives you an idea of what you're eating and kind of keeps you in check with that stuff. Because when you're starting to go, okay, I've had enough. I should feel full and I should kind of taper it back. I feel like that's such a huge thing. Protein's another huge thing. I try to tell, I feel like, and you might share the same sentiment. We don't get enough protein, period. We don't eat enough protein, and protein keeps our muscle mass on us, especially as women. We don't know we're not going to puff up. There's a misconception about even women and exercise, like lifting weights. Are like, I don't want to look all, and it's like, no, you're
not ever going to look like a man.
Well, you don't have enough testosterone in your body to look like a bodybuilder, right? So, but the protein really helps. And I know this in my own journey of being a diabetic, and I can literally watch my blood sugars go up and down. Protein keeps your blood sugar level, which it doesn't help your pancreas to kick in any more insulin into your body to counteract the carbs and the sugar. And that's what puts weight on you. So that's why protein is so important. It helps with your muscles. It helps with your keeping you full longer. It helps with your brain. Your brain needs protein to function better. So that's a huge one. I always try to tell our clients just to.
Oh yeah. Focus on protein.
Yeah. We don't get enough of it.
All the benefits. If anything, the satiety is really big, the feeling full. Just as someone who's going, through dieting and sustaining, then you can start to really reap and understand the other benefits of adequate protein levels. Yep. It is definitely important. Portion sizes are important when you understand what something looks like. And that's kind of wraps back to what I was saying about my cake. Yeah. If I know that I'm gonna do something, you can pre-plan for it.
Yeah, listen, I'm just gonna go face first and do some cake.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I'll do that.
No, I'm not gonna eat as many carbs during the day.
You're like, I'm just gonna stick with my protein, keep my calories low throughout the day so that I don't have to worry about it tonight. Yeah. I'm going to celebrate.
And this comes to my next thing about tips and trips and little hacks, right? So that's a good hack. Like, listen, if you understand what you're eating, you can put those things in that 20% of the eating for pure enjoyment stuff that's really not the best for you, but you still need to enjoy your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like to have my vodka sodas, or glass of wine. And I, that's I don't necessarily have a sweet tooth, but I do enjoy a good glass of red wine, and that has a ton of calories and other things in it. So, you're going to be going out with the girls and having a glass of wine or or whatever. You got to just accounting for that is a huge, I think, hack.
It is. I tell people that all the time, especially when it comes to like going on vacation and still trying to maintain your diet and not blow it. And I do this myself is I just keep my breakfast and lunch light, simple, very protein dense. Mm-hmm. So that I just don't even have to think about it at dinner. I'm on vacation. I don't need to be actively trying to lose weight, if that makes sense.
Well, you're probably going to better restaurants and different cuisines than you normally would at home. So yeah, and you're treating yourself,
It's like the goal is just to more or less maintain. And you can do that by
lighter breakfast, lighter things. Yep. So just the planning of lighter things during the day and not as much. We don't need like 3-4 pancakes and syrup for breakfast in the morning. And to be honest, I don't want to feel like that I don't want to be weighed down on vacation, even though I might just be sitting on the beach having a mocktail. So, exactly. Let's go into exercise and weights. So we're talking about like overall maintaining a good healthy lifestyle and making semaglutide work for you, even if you do come off of it or when you do come off of it. So let's talk about exercise and weights.
Yep. So exercise is definitely important. That can look different for everybody. At the end of the day, as long as you are getting in some movement, even if walking is all that you can do, aim for 2,000 steps more this week than last week, et cetera, et cetera. Just move more. If lifting weights isn't your thing, but taking yoga or spin class or whatever is, that's great. Do that. Just be active. Lifting weights and building muscle mass is not only the best thing that you can do to help with weight loss in regards to physical activity, but improving, again, your overall health and longevity and body. I mean, it is proven.
And metabolism.
And metabolism.
Absolutely. That's, again, we talked about it can wreck your metabolism if you're not eating while you're on semaglutide because you're not hungry. This building muscle mass helps with your metabolism. Yeah. So anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but yeah.
It takes more work to maintain that muscle. Your body needs more fuel to maintain it. It burns more calories when you have more muscle because it requires more calories. And then it has been proven and shown that, a lot of women as they age, women in particular, lose so much muscle mass, right? And it creates other health issues. If you maintain a healthy level of muscle mass as you age, you're less likely to have bone density issues, other chronic developments, and you just live longer.
Your heart is a muscle. So, I mean, there's a big component there, women end up having more heart disease, don't they, than men? I think that actually is a statistic. So, yeah. I mean, we also worry more.
More stress. There are so many benefits to lifting weights. I mean, I can go, there's like two sides to this. One, exercise, you're going to get those endorphins. So you can alleviate stress and
that's perfect example.
Frustrating issues. And then just to go back to how this relates to lifestyle and mindset. If you get in the habit of having any sort of physical activity routine, but a gym routine where you're lifting weights, that habit, that routine is going to help positively reinforce everything else. If you can maintain an exercise regimen after you're done dieting, then you will more than likely sustain your fat loss because you have this, mental mindset and routine built in. You're more likely to eat healthier, make better choices because you're being physically active. It's an identity.
And you're less stressed.
You're less stressed
because exercise does alleviate that. When you're less stressed, you won't tend to choose the comfort foods as much, which are the ones that are usually the worst things, the high sugar, high carb, but also trans fats and processed. Those are the comfort foods that typically we all reach for when we're stressed out. So yeah. And that goes kind of along with managing any kind of, emotional trauma. We can get into that all day, but that's another big component. I think that we don't talk about a lot in just the whole longevity of weight loss and weight gain. It's a really big deal because a lot of people, especially women, I know a lot of even my friends, they eat for comfort, and a lot of it can go back to, daily stress, jobs and kids and whatever, but it can go back to trauma when they were a kid. Something traumatic happened when you're a child and you haven't dealt with that trauma. And that we tend to, that keeps cortisol in your belly, which that's the fat hormone that literally puts fat in your belly, like right around the midsection. But, it's where we reach for the comfort foods and the French fries and the things like that we almost don't know why we're doing that. But that's unresolved trauma. And I think there's going to be some point, I do want to have another interview with somebody that is like a trauma specialist. I feel like that's going to be a really powerful one, because it's nothing that we don't talk about it, but it's so powerful to deal with that stuff, and overall health, not just physically on the outside here and there. It's all connected. So, and I do agree. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is all
Powerful.
Very, very connected, very powerful. And um, food just has a really big like involvement and impact on all of these issues. And
Mm-hmm.
learning to navigate that
Mm-hmm.
is going to help improve a lot of other
Yeah.
things. So absolutely.
Um, Supplements. Well,
Mhm.
that's probably my last thing to talk about as far as like overall journey. Do you suggest any supplements to people while they're going through this or to maintain? What do you suggest?
So, I mean, I'm going to be frank. When it comes to weight loss supplements, the over the counter stuff, most of them are garbage. People are just
Hmm.
trying to sell you. Okay. They just are. Best actual like weight loss supplements. I mean, protein powder is the
Yep.
best supplement, right? And that's just because it's going to help supplement that protein intake, which we struggle to get enough of. So protein powder all day long.
Put in my coffee in the morning. That's the easiest hack.
Yes,
Because you're like,
yes.
oh, I don't make a smoothie. Well, you could put in your coffee.
Oh,
Things don't
there's so
taste like
many.
anything. Yeah.
You can bake with it. I make
Mhm.
protein pancakes for my kids all the
Yeah.
time.
Good
There's
idea.
so many things. So protein, if you do work out and lift weights, creatine is actually a valuable supplement. But other than that, no real weight loss supplements.
Yeah. Well,
But like, oh,
that and I was thinking just like overall supplements too. Just like one of the ones, just for example, I like to tell people like, because I've done a ton of research on them and I'm just in my journey is magnesium, but the
mhm,
right kind of magnesium. There's a magnesium that's more for just you soak in it, but then you have like magnesium glycine,
mhm.
and those are the ones that help you relax and get that good restful sleep. But also, every organ in your body needs magnesium. Um, every single organ uses it, and a lot of times we don't have enough of it in our body. So, like little simple things like that is if there's any,
Yeah, I mean, fiber supplement
yeah,
is going to be
yeah.
beneficial, especially if you're on the medication. It can help keep things moving along.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, what was I just thinking of? A good multivitamin is always good to have. It's going to help you, especially while you are learning how to eat and how to balance your diet. Make sure that you are getting in all of those valuable micronutrients and vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a good
And a
multivitamin.
high quality vitamins always, I'm no offense to like you go to CVS or Walgreens and that stuff is usually filled with garbage. Like they literally have like sawdust fillers in them. Like, I mean, you're getting literally a fraction of what the vitamin actually is. So get some good high quality vitamins. That's always super important to help with just overall feeling good and I feel like keeping the weight off, even that all ties in together. So yeah, we
Absolutely.
already do the B12 and the B6. The Bio Boost is with the semaglutide, which is great. Now, coming off of it, you should get a good B vitamin as well. Continue to go on, stay on it. There's not a negative to it. So it has B vitamins in general have a lot of positives to it. So I always say a good, vitamin C. You can never 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, like a really good one is always not just immune boosting, but it's anti-aging. Those types of things I always find just basics for people. Obviously, we can't get into too many specifics with, because some do interact with people's medications and different things like that. So yeah.
Definitely consult your practitioner
Yeah.
about it so that they can know. But incorporating making sure that you're getting all those micronutrients is definitely important, and it's going to help for everything.
So great having you on, Kelly. So much great information. And any ending statements that you want to just tell people?
Yeah, what I really want people to know, because again, firsthand, I know how frustrating it is. I have been through weight loss, so I understand it. And then I see it all the time with my clients, how discouraging it can be trying to lose weight. And I really just want to leave off on a word of encouragement, which is to be gentle with yourself if you're trying to lose weight, and give yourself some grace and some room. Know that it is a long journey and a long road, and just stay focused, just keep going, and don't beat yourself up too hard. It will come if you stay committed to it. it will come, and use your resources. But yeah, that's pretty much
Absolutely.
it.
That's why we're putting these things together, the resources, and just helping people to have an overall, great, just longevity of health. Again, why we're called Youth Fuel. That's the whole encompassing thing. I know people think we're just, we're starting off with the weight loss stuff, but we're starting to get into, interviewing people like you and experts and stuff so that people can really tune into our channel and like overall wellness and health experts. And it really is all encompassing. I'm kind of like, there's doctors that treat just kidneys, there's doctors that treat just eyes, but when you think about it, they're all tied together. So when you just do the basics
Absolutely.
of things, and also just, again, you're right, lifestyle change. Don't beat up on yourself too much. And it's not always easy, but it will get easier.